Welcome to CSL White Rock. I'm Georgia Neekin, one of the practitioners here. And we're so glad to see you today and glad that you're able to zoom in with us. So if you just want to sit back for a second, I'm going to ground us in an invocation and we can begin. I know this time and space, and this wondrous idea we call universe, we call God, we call spirit, we call the divine. And as I call in the divine today to recognize that oneness that I am part of, that we all are, all of these wonderful expressions that are showing up today here are here in the right place, in the right moment, to share new ideas, new thoughts, to gain knowledge and greater self-awareness. I'm welcoming the love and the recognition of the love that I am, and that soul growth. And that idea of soul that's everlasting, that light that shines brightly in each and every one of the people that are showing up here today, and the pets, and all of the living things around us. So thankful and so grateful for this today. And I send all of this back to the law, knowing all is well, and so it is. I'd now like to welcome our wonderful returning musician, Ivan Boudreau. He is fantastic. I heard him live at a center, at a church out here in Maple Ridge, where they're holding arts things, and I'm sure he'll tell you a little bit about it, but take it away, Ivan.
Thanks, Georgia, and hello, everybody. Yes, the Golden Ears, the Sanctuary at Golden Ears United Church is where I'll be doing a monthly series starting in September. And thank you all for who came to get our test pilot underway. So I'd like to play a song here about being compassionate and being loving. Leave room for others when you walk. Listen to what's said before you talk. Hold the door open for those behind. Pay it forward to them down the line. Treat others like you treat yourself. Help those who struggle with their health. Respect all those who cross your path. When you find love, help make it last. When a baby is born, it don't know hate. Its life's in your hands, yours to create. If you show them compassion, what you do and say, they'll follow in your footsteps when they're walking away. Help the old ones find their way home. Keep someone company who's all alone. When the weak fall down, help them up. If a stranger's thirsty, share your cup. When a baby is born, it don't know hate. Its life's in your hands, yours to create. If you show them compassion, what you do and say, they'll follow in your footsteps when they're walking away. Be honest with your friends, no need to lie. When the bridge is burning, pass it by. How you live each day shows others who you are. A humble man and a shining star. When a baby It don't know hate, its life's in your hands, yours to create. If you show them compassion in what you do and say, they'll follow in your footsteps when they're walking away. They'll follow in your footsteps when they're walking away.
Oh, Ivan, that was beautiful. Wow, I'm sorry, I'm a bit verklempt now because of that. It's amazing how every time I show up at CSL, the messages I need to hear are right there in front of me. And so thank you, Ivan. I'm actually going to download that and play it on repeat. Beautifully done. And I've just started following Ivan on Facebook, and he's very, very busy, and I haven't yet got to see him live in person, but starting in September, I'm looking forward to those performances. And please do put your contact information in the chat, Ivan, so we can all follow you. Good morning, everybody. Wow, what a day. What a beautiful day. My name is Angela Clark, and I'm a board member for CSL White Rock. And as we begin our gathering today as settlers on this land, we're honored to live and operate on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples. We really do thank the First Peoples who continue to live on these lands and care for them, along with the waters and all that is above and below. CSL White Rock is an inclusive spiritual community and learning center. We teach spiritual practices and offer tools to use in all areas of life. They work. And regularly and consistently, our life flourishes and flows out of ease and grace when we practice these. Let's walk together on the spiritual path and walk each other home, all the while transforming our lives and the lives of others. Welcome back to the service and to Rev Champion Fleming, a minister, organizational development consultant, leadership coach, working with national nonprofits and labor unions committed to anti-racist strategies that lead to cultural and political change, and one of our favorites. Champion has worked for decades on LGBTQIA issues, AIDS awareness, poverty, and racism. Rev Champion has served CSL White Rock in many capacities, including organizational development consultant, facilitating workshops, teaching classes, leading meditation, practicing as Sunday speaker and presider. Rev Champion brings their humor, warmth, and loving kindness to every place they are. And I have to say it, it's written right in front of me, the one and only Rev Champion with the one and only. Over to you.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Ivan and Georgia. Thanks for setting a beautiful environment to step into for me. Today, we're talking about relationships. We're talking about the living spirit, which is in everything, and how it is in our relationships. And I'm just going to be laughing all through today because, and expecting transformation, because honestly, my relationships could be using some transformation right about now. So are you scratching your head saying, what the Hercules is going on in my relationships? Or are you lucky to be in a space where you're amazed at the love and intimacy and connection that you're experiencing? For me, I'm kind of in the former of scratching my head and wondering, after all this spiritual practice, after all this training and schooling, why are some of my relationships looking like this? And so I'm going to start with this Rumi quote, which is, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. And that is my humanness, the ways that I show up in relationship with barriers built up against love. And in our teaching, we teach that no matter who or what the relationship is, that it is a relationship with the living spirit or the divine or God, and that in fact, God is all there is. And when I was a practitioner student, we got the assignment that we would contemplate this statement, God is all there is, that we would contemplate that for a month. And during that time, I got a dog, and my dog was just magical. And I was speaking to a fellow practitioner student of mine, and he said, well, how's the dog? And I said, well, she's a total sweetheart. But then every so often, she just goes off on someone. And he said, oh, kind of like you. and, and I was really grateful for that truth delivered with love, because here I was being my good spiritual self, being so good in the ways that I was showing up in the world, being so convinced of my virtue, of my spirituality, of the magnificence of the way I was showing up. And I was in the midst of contemplating that God is all there is. And that means that I am the divine as well. And that nothing can exist outside of God. And God is good. And therefore I was good. And I was in this process of self-aggrandizement, of working on my self-esteem to the extent that I was wrapped up in the goodness of my spiritual self. And I was attempting to demonstrate this in all of my behavior and everywhere I went. And I was just getting so convinced of my goodness. And how my divinity was being expressed through me into the world in all of my relationships. And this, I have to say, is a good practice for us to move into a sense of our own divinity, to be in the truth of who we are, that we are divinely made, divinely created, and all that God is can be lived through us. And yet I was still showing up, my dog was molded in the likeness and image of me, which was a total sweetheart, and then every so often going off on somebody. And so one day I had made it through practitioner studies. I was a practitioner. I was a significant member contributing in my community. I was contributing my time and my talent and my finances. And I ordered a laptop to start ministerial school. And I had the laptop delivered to a business near my house, because the truth is, in Oakland, if you have electronics left on your front porch, they could easily walk away. And so I got an email from UPS that my laptop was delivered and it was ready to be picked up. And I thought, well, I'm going to celebrate first by going and getting a coffee. And I was standing in line getting a coffee, and this gentleman went up to get his coffee, and he tried to pay with an ATM card, and the woman said, no, this isn't working. Do you have another card? And then he tried to pay again with another card, and she said, no, this card's not working either. And then he pulled a third card out of his pocket, and he tried to pay with that, and it didn't work either. And I stepped in and I paid for his coffee. And I was just in my goodness, my good spiritual goodness, my paying it forward version of myself. And mind you, it took 3 tries for him to pay before I stepped in, but I did step in and I paid it forward, and I left with my coffee. And I was so excited. I had my coffee and I was going to go get my laptop. And so I walked over to the store where I was going to pick up the laptop, and they had a big storefront window, and it was a game store. They sold board games and Dungeons and Dragons, and all the boards were in the window, and it was, playful and exciting. And I turned into the store and I opened the door and I started walking across the store in hopeful expectation of receiving my laptop. And there was a guy standing behind the counter. And he said, "What the bleep are you doing in here? Get the bleep out of here. We're closed. What part of closed didn't you see when you walked in?" And evidently I had walked right past a "We are closed" sign, but through an open door and into the shop. And in that moment, instead of seeing his distress, I just started right up with him and started yelling back at him. And it's 5 years ago at least now. I can't remember what I was yelling, but I'm sure it was very creative, very artful, matching him where he was. And I yelled, and then I left the store, and then as I was walking down the sidewalk, I decided, well, I haven't said enough yet, and I'm going to go back in and do some more. So I went back into the store and I yelled at him again, something about how horrible they were, and I was never shopping there again. And then I left and I realized, but I have to go back tomorrow and I have to get my laptop. How am I going to get my laptop from this guy? And then I was embarrassed and ashamed and all the things that you are when you aren't in that spot where you want to be in your relationship, that if our relationships are a demonstration of our relationship with the divine, here I was going into ministerial school, still in the space of not really knowing and not being able to demonstrate, even in this stress of him yelling at me, all my practice, all my work, all my spirituality. Couldn't I have been in a space of knowing his divinity and showing him love, showing him my divinity? And, Science of Mind is deeply rooted in Hindu concepts of the divine. And one of the things that Hindus believe that I find uniquely comforting is that we forget, that forgetting who we are and forgetting our divinity is part of the process. That it is a natural part of our walk on this planet as divine beings, that we forget our divinity, that we forget that God is all there is, that we forget that the living spirit in fact made us, and we are whole, we are love, we are all that the divine is us, and it lies within us. And we have access to it at all times. And so all I could do was take myself home without my laptop and figure out how I was going to go back the next day and repair what had happened between us in a way that was authentic, in a way that was going to, in fact, connect us, in a way that was going to demonstrate that the living spirit, which is God, is within me and it is within my relationships. And so the next day, after some meditation and prayer, after, being, I get kind of stuck. I don't know how it is for you, but when I get into that kind of a fight space, I get a little bit stuck, and I want to be able to behave that way. And I had to talk myself down from that. I had to forgive myself. I had to go within. I had to nurture that part of me that forgets. I had to get with how I get with God, how I go within and get with that. And so the next day, they were in fact open. When I walked up to the door, there was a big open sign on the door. The door was unlocked. I walked in, I walked across the room, and he was behind the counter again. And I said, "I know you remember me. I'm the one that lost it yesterday. And I just want to say, and I began a big apology to him. And he said, you know what? I have to tell you something. When you came in here yesterday, I didn't have any pants on. I was naked from the waist down. And it's just an opportunity to know that we don't know everything that's going on with somebody, right? Like, he was going off on me to keep me from seeing him naked behind the counter. He said, I came in yesterday on my bike to just quietly do some inventory with nobody in the shop. I had my biking shorts on. I came in. I was just going to put on some other shorts and then work in the store. I thought I had locked the door behind me. Clearly, I had not. And that's what you walked in on. And so we just don't know. And so my capacity to forgive him, my capacity to forgive myself lies in my relationship to the divine, right? That I can go to that presence and bring it everything that every human foible, every mistake, every unwanted way of showing up, the ways that I show up, and just ask to be soothed, ask to be seen, ask to be comforted, to be in relationship with the divine. We, in Science of Mind, we teach that God is all there is. And sometimes it's hard to believe that in the duality that we see in the world, in the environment that we see in the world, in all the things that are going on in the world. This idea that God is all there is can be a very challenging concept. But we teach that we can let go of our human understanding of it, that to comprehend all that God is, all that the divine is, whatever your word is for it, all that the living spirit is, to comprehend that with the human mind, we can't do it. It's much more vast, it's much more infinite, it's much bigger and greater than what I can know. And I can't know. I can't really, after all the contemplation, it's still a challenge for me to be in a space of understanding that God is all there is. And so at least once a year, I turn to it's Course in Miracles. It's the lesson is 189. And I want you to do this with me. Is just get quiet for yourself right now. Return to that meditative place that Georgia took us through, and just take a second, be still, and lay aside all thoughts of what you are and what God is. Put down all the concepts you have learned about the world, all the images you hold about yourself. Empty your mind of everything it thinks, either true or false, good or bad. In fact, completely release the binary. Let go of every thought that judges you worthy or unworthy. Every thought that judges those that you're in relationship with as worthy or unworthy. Release all the ideas that conjure shame or guilt. And hold on to nothing. Do not bring with you one thought of the past, one thing that you've been taught, or one thing you've learned. Release anything you think you know about the divine. Release any belief. For a moment, forget this world. Forget this community. And come wholly empty unto the divine. And so as you come back into the room, bring yourself wholly new to your relationships, your work relationships, your familial relationships, your intimate partnerships. Release what you think you know. Release what you think others know or don't know about you. Imagine your relationships as this place of spiritual practice, a place of the discipline of love, the discipline of truth. And discipline means to be a disciple of. And how today, later today, tomorrow, and throughout this week can you be a disciple to love? How can you be a disciple to the newness, to create a new atmosphere in your relationships? Letting go of what you think you know and bringing something new, something that is enriched with the divine. Our task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within ourselves that we have built against love. Where are the places that I have built barriers, that we have built barriers? And how can we bring a newness with the divine with us to help release those obstacles right now? In Science of Mind, we use this mantra that I'm going to give you for the week. There is only one life. That life is the life of God. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. There's only one life. That life is the life of God. That life is perfect. That life is my life right now. Thank you. So just taking a moment to return to that place where we feel into the divine love and presence that's in and through and as us. Knowing that each one of us in a moment of brilliance was brought into form by this living spirit, by the divine presence, by God. And all that it is lives through it, through us in each moment, that we let down any barriers to the divine, to the love of the divine. And we live from it today in its beauty, in its expansive joy, in adventure, curiosity, and humor. We live and play and love through this presence, knowing whatever's on your heart today is touched and moved and transformed, and that we are one in this one. I give thanks for everything that went before this moment to make it possible for all of us to be together here. I release this word. I let go. I let God. I let it be. And so it is.
Gratitude. That's where we are now. And thanks again, Rev Champion, for being with us. The law of circulation is in constant movement, giving and receiving. The more good that is given, the more good is received. And that's proven to be very, very true. This is how the law works. The abundant prosperity of life naturally expands. Life is better for this, and I am truly grateful. I invite you to place your hand on your heart and take a breath. Be grateful. When I think from gratitude, I recognize all of the good that is available to me. With an open and loving heart, I give thanks for all the gifts that life continuously provides. Join me in being grateful and make a donation to CSL White Rock. Should you choose to give regularly, you can join our committed giving program, and all the information you need will be found in the chat. You can go to our donate page on the website. You can pay by mail. The address is right there. Or you can pay by e-transfer if you prefer.